Oh, friends, I'm back, live streaming again. You might well say, Eric, do you really need to live stream this much? The answer is probably no, and yet also yes. You see, I am a relaxed man during tense times. I'm not naturally a tense person, really, I tend to chillax. I do my fair amount of chillaxing. My fair share of it, you could say. Yeah, there's the cat. Looking like she's super all that. She's a super all that kind of super cat. She's the kind of cat who's got it all going on. Including looking good and feeling good all the time. Why? She's just that kind of cat. That's why. Anyway, relaxed people during tense times. Tense times for relaxed people. I'm a pretty relaxed person in general, but this real estate stuff's keeping me up at night, The house listed. Looks like it's got some good initial action and everything, but we won't know until we know, and we just gotta wait. And I'm not really very good at waiting on when big things are in the mix. I probably wasn't ever really gonna sleep tonight, but especially with this stuff going on, And our poor kitties, right here in the back house, instead of this ridiculous desk that they've got staged out here. Makes for a pretty big, good backdrop, I guess. Hi, Acacia. But, it's not like I really have anything in particular to talk about today, so much as I just want to kill some time, as I wait to see how things play out. Well, this house listed today for sale, and my realtor got a number of calls about it today, and also set up multiple showings already. So it's going to be a busy week, and Rachel and I are basically have to be out of the house here. So my kitties don't like all this change going on, They want stability like anybody does. So you locked your keys in your car, huh? You should have locked yourself inside your car with your keys. Then you could have gotten out and it wouldn't have been a problem. But yeah, I'm up so late because I feel so great. I'm up so late because I feel irate? No. I'm up so late because this book's so great? No, this is just a staged book. Joshua Jackson, sup. I'm up so late because the boat can't wait? Possibly. Could be any of those things or more, really. So many possibilities. My mind immediately becomes blown as soon as I begin to think about it. Hi, Rachel Appaloosa. Look, I'm out here in the office with this important looking book. See? That's how you know I'm smart. It's called the fan. I use the power of blowing wind to turn pages. I also have this very important globe because as I'm reading my important books, I like to reference where on the globe the places they're talking about are. So that's pretty important. In fact, I'm really into geography. As you can see, I got a map over there. That's the kind of map you can really take to the bank. I haven't been an atheist in a very long time. Probably not in 40 years. I think I went through a brief agnostic phase when I was around 10 to 15. Yeah, I've never really been an atheist. That's as a little kid, you know. Atheism's kind of kid stuff, I think. Well, you know, Joshua, I've explained my position on the nature and role of faith and appropriate metric to evaluate it under, you know. It's a behavior, not an argument. So, sure, most people get that key piece of data there wrong, but being an atheist is just as silly as every other kind of argument about faith-based behavior, you know. It's like, because I go jogging, that doesn't make me a joggist. You know? That's the weird thing about how people misinterpret religion is they treat it as though it were a school of philosophy or something. Anyway, it's not. But I tell you what is. Eric's School of Philosophy. Matriculate today. Learn things like, Jesus isn't real, and you don't know that, and shut up, you, and other important things at Eric's School of Philosophy. Learn important lessons like, how dare you claim things? And who do you think you are? Here at Eric's Philosophy School. A school for philosophy. What is beauty? What is truth? What is meaning? What is knowledge? What is belief? What is identity? It's just like pow, pow, pow. Ontology, epistemology, big words left and right. Here at Eric's Philosophy School, School for Philosophy and Philosophers by Eric. It's his full title. Jesus and Horus and Hermes correlations for. I don't know what that means. Does it mean you want to be in a three-way with Jesus and Hermes and have Horus film it? That's what it sounds like to me. I think that's what you're saying. But what I've suggested is maybe have Hermes film it. Horus, from what I understand, is hung like a Horus. You wouldn't want to exclude him from the action. I'd say from experience, that's the money shot you can write home about. Oh, you oceans of the world, you claim to be different, but don't you all really connect? You do, don't you? These oceans claim to be different, Atlantic, Pacific. But you know, if you go down underneath South America, there's a connection there. It's all the same ocean. Thoth. Thoth has too many THs in his name. He needs to lose at least one of the THs. You're only allowed a single in your name. Just think about the city of Thebes. How much more difficult would it be to say if his name was Thebes? A lot more difficult. Thoth is actually a slut. What? Joshua, can we please not slut slam Thoth? Nothing makes me sadder than slut shame and Thoth. Nothing makes me sadder than slut shame and Jesus. Nothing makes me sadder than slut shame and Thoth. But I bet I could tease and itch. Well, nothing makes me madder than slut shaming Thoth. So you need to knock it off, Mr. Joshua Jackson. Stop your King Tut shaming. Yes, I know King Tut was a huge slut. That doesn't mean you need to shame him for it. Okay? Let's try to be a little bit more woke around here, please. We're going 180 degrees, and instead of slut shaming, we're slut encouraging. You go, sluts of the world. You slutty it out up there like it's nobody's business. Enjoy your sensory pleasures. In your poor, pitiful lives devoid of meaning, that's all you've got. Meanwhile, I've got this important book. See? That's how you live the good life. You read important books. You sit at important desks. You periodically consult the globe. Ah, right there. When the need occurs, you turn around on your bookshelf. You grab, which you always keep around for light reading material, The Principles of Internal Medicine. Now, if that book doesn't make me look fancy, nothing will. Wow, is this guy a doctor? He must be. He's got the principles of internal medicine. By the way, DMT is popular in Egypt. Well, then book me a vacation to Cairo. Yeah, it's a real book. It's just put there for fake purposes, you know. Like that blue bottle there. Believe it or not, I don't use that blue bottle for anything. It's not even mine. It's just a pretend blue bottle. Well, sure, it's a real blue bottle, but I mean, it's pretend in that it's only there for pretend purposes. It's called the Blue Flower of Egypt. And once you consumed enough of it, you turned into one of those dog-faced people that they had in Egypt. You know what I'm talking about? With the long noses. They walked like an Egyptian. Internal medicine is stuff you put inside your body to make yourself feel better. You should try it sometime. Join the modern world, man. Participate in a little Western medicine, why don't you? Acupuncture is not going to cure your acne. That's not why they both start with AC. You can't fix that broken leg with your voodoo spells. You need to rub ointment on it. Oh, wonderful kitty. Oh, yes. Daddy knows. Daddy knows and he loves. Daddy knows, loves, and touches. Oh, yes. Daddy loves you. Oh, the pets that you're enjoying. Oh, yes. What a wonderful kitty friend. Whenever you ask me your kitty questions, the answer is always, oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. A beep beep from my phone. Oh no, what could that be? My God, okay. Well, that's fine. You're welcome. Carlos Pine, but you know your history. I say the myth is also history to a degree. Nothing new under the sun. Maybe? Hmm. Well, what about new things? If you put them under the sun, then isn't there something new under the sun? Granted, if you go someplace where you're only putting old things under the sun, then I would agree with you that there is nothing new under the sun. But by placing new things under the sun, you can falsify that pretty easy. Well, I got a lot of shit going on. I got a lot of stress, I guess, a lot of tension. I'm actually ready to go to bed back at the hotel. I'm just feeling tense mostly. I'll know a lot more in a week, and we'll see where we are. But as I'm waiting to find out, it's a like hollow of the chest kind of feeling thing, Yeah, too much business logic in my world recently. Business logic, whatever that is. Being greedy. That's a nice way of saying being greedy. Caring only about money. Nothing is new. All things came from old material, or it is. Well, when I combine salmon and chocolate into a salmon chocolate milkshake, it's neither salmon nor chocolate, but some new, terrible drink. Sure, it combines old ingredients that we already have, but even that's not the case that there aren't ever any new ingredients. They just identified a new element actually from a meteor. So there are countless, almost infinite things we can note that exist that once did not. So there are definitely new things under the sun. Continually new things emerge into the sun. Well, presumably they prosper and grow thanks to the rich, loamy soil and plentiful sources of fresh water. Well, I guess it's time to go smoke a cigarette. You know what they say. A cigarette a day will keep the doctor away. Because nobody likes to smell cigarette smoke. A cigarette a day will keep the doctor away. You'll stay away, doctor. I don't like your medical treatments. Skunky Brewster was right there but didn't notice me, and so I said, Skunky Brewster, and then scurried away. That was a misplaced modifier, actually. It was not I who scurried away, it was the skunk. So if my misplaced modifier confused you, I'm sorry about that, and I'll blame you for being confused. I should have placed the modifier in the correct location. My stomach's giving me a little bit of pushback. Because originally I had these milkshakes earlier, and my stomach and milkshakes don't really super well get along. Sophia, I'm sorry. My sweet darling, but this is my chair. As you can see, I have everything I need. I've got this little guy to look at. He reminds me to center myself when I'm reading my book on internal medicine. The audio should be a little bit better now with that fan off. How far back were his estimates? Or whose estimates? Who says that? Probably me. Anatoly Fomenko? Historical chronology is all wrong. Oh no. Anatoly Fomenko cross-referenced historical dates with astronomical events. He included there is much wrongness. Well, heaven forbid. Heaven forbid we get dates wrong. I mean, I need to know that it was 1492 when Columbus discovered America. Not 1491 and not 1493. It's important. Oh yes, what a wonder kid you are. Somebody took all the most wonderful parts of kitty and created a single wonderful kitty out of it. Like 1,000 years wrong? Are you trying to tell me Columbus won't discover America into 2,492? Well, then who discovered it back in 1492? Was it the Native American Indian peoples of the native peoples of the indigenous natives? They discovered America? Where did they discover it from? Indians could not discover it because they weren't looking for anything. Good morning, Li Joe. We were just discussing how Indians couldn't have discovered America because they weren't looking for it. Since they were already here, they couldn't have discovered it. They could only continue to know where it is. That's why it took Columbus to discover it. Could that mean Jesus really was copied from older texts and amalgamated into one person? Heaven to Betsy. Heavens to Betsy. You mean the historical record of somebody from thousands of years ago might have combined several different people? Are you sure? I mean, that book was written by like 20 different guys, you know. Book of Joe, Book of Bob, Book of Brian, Book of Poop Face. My favorite book of the Bible is the Book of Poop Face. In which Poop Face explains how God gave him a poop face because he ate pork on the wrong side of the street. This is exactly the same reason why God gave me a poop face, actually. So at least he's fair. At least he's consistent. I'm looking forward to my plague of locusts. From one thing I've understood from Christianity is that everybody's guaranteed at least one plague of locusts per lifetime. So I plan to enslave all the locusts when they come to plague me. Instead of a plague, I'll have an army. And I'll send them all to Elijah's house. I'll say, feast upon her plants, locusts, eat them all. And she'll say, no, Eric, what did I ever do to deserve this? And I'll say, you were just there. You were in that one live stream where I picked randomly who I was going to locust attack, and it was you. Deal with it. Just deal with it. Well, then I'll tell them to eat your shingles on your roof. Locusts can eat shingles. I'll get termite locusts. What do you think about that? The old text is based on Babylonian texts, based on Sumerian texts. Let's all write in Sanskrit, please. Can we all please just write in Sanskrit? I am so done with these modern languages. I want a hodgepodge mix of Latin and Sanskrit. You can toss in an occasional board of ancient Greece if you'd like as well. Something like Palopolis, which is the art of drawing polygons. Ancient Greek word. Also the name of a famous polygon-centric philosopher who believed the meaning of life could be found in a polygon. Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate it. Hey, that's a dirty joke, Carlos, what you just wrote. It's too dirty. It's a family-friendly show. There's no jokes about boobs, no jokes about sex, no jokes about boobs, and no jokes about anal. Only bukkake jokes are allowed. It's the only adult material that's acceptable. Because for me, life is like being at the receiving end of a non-stop bukkake. It's just, I'm gonna have lunch. Oops, no spoon. Scored a load on my face. You know, that's what it felt like lately. It felt like I've just been in a non-stop bukkake session. Every time I think I'm done, it's just psh, another one right in the face. But you know, today's 180 went pretty smoothly. And now I just want to like keep looking at listings of my house online, which is just a dumb thing to do. You just have to be patient, wait for some people to look at it. Stuff's happening fast, you know, which is good. And I expect, you know, the house will sell in fairly short order. I stole the idea of fire from Caveman Og, but he stole it from Caveman Org, who had taken it from .gov, who had co-opted it from .com. Where will you move to, Eric? I am moving to Mariposa County. It's one of, if not the smallest county in California. And it's the only county in California that has no municipal level government. It just has county level government. So that's kind of interesting, kind of fun, you know. If you'd like to see the house we're going to move to, I'll put the address in here. You can look it up. It's still on Zillow. If you put that address into Google, you will see the Zillow listing for our new house. The reason the Zillow listing is still up for the house that we're buying is that we have a contingency deal in place that's contingent on this house selling by a certain date, right? So they're accepting contingency offers in case this deal falls through. But assuming this house opens escrow before February 15th, which I'm confident it will, then that's our new house. And it's a pretty nice house. It's right across the street from the National Forest. It's out in the woods, you know. Close to Yosemite. Relatively close to like Oakhurst and a little town of Mariposa, which isn't technically an incorporated town, but whatever. if we need to go to more big box kind of stores, we can go to Merced and get stuff there, like at Costco and Walmart and stuff, you know. Oh yes, what a great kitty woman you are. What an important kitty woman friend. What a valued and well understood, important addition to the family you are. Yes, this is your tail. Striped like that of a raccoon. Thanks, Elijah. It's not huge, but it's more house than Rachel and I need for sure. So we'll be able to have visitors and stuff. And it's the kind of place people like to go visit because it's the closest little town to Mariposa, I mean to Yosemite. So it's a good jumping off spot if you want to go visit Yosemite or something, you know, like that. So hopefully we'll have some people come through, stop by. Yeah, spend a couple nights. I think Rachel and I would enjoy that. I mean, it's got 4 bedrooms, so, you know, and it's fully furnished. We're buying it fully furnished, so you don't need to bring a sleeping bag. It's got some cool features, a couple of wood burning stoves, one on the top floor, one on the bottom floor. It's got central heating and air that lets you set the room separately for the temperature separately for each room, which I think is pretty cool. And and it's got one of those vacuum cleaners that is a whole house vacuum cleaner. So you don't have to move your vacuum around from your room. You just take the tube and plug it into the hole in the wall in each room. It's got plantation shutters instead of these stupid Venetian blinds. I doxed the people who will inhabit that house, meaning me. I'm not really that worried about people getting my address. It's not that difficult to find somebody's address, frankly. If you can't find my address and you really want to, then you're really quite incompetent. You know. I don't worry about that. I have had somebody show up at my house uninvited before. But that doesn't mean I expect it to happen again. And, oh God. First it was Skunky Brewster, now it's Petunia the Possum. Petunia the Putrid Possum. Yeah, and it's got a nice circular driveway, so it makes it easy to pull in and out, you know. It does have a garage as well, but I don't anticipate really parking in the garage, probably. No, I haven't slept. I did some Adderall last night. Took it fairly late, so even though I didn't take very much of it, and I had gummies and stuff, it still kept me up all night. Petunia the Putrid Possum. I don't like possums. They're gross, and they're gross. What else can you say about possums? They're gross. So here I am, just killing time, live streaming about nothing, looking at this disgusting possum out there. See him walking around. Reflection on the inside. You know what I always say, possums are for schmossums. One of your earliest memories was your dad chasing a possum with oven mitts and a tennis racket out of the house. I mean, you made it clear. You got a sign up. Please take off oven mitts and tennis racket before entering the house, possums. And this one didn't listen. Well, I mean, the Dutch tulip bubble is a famous example of speculation gone wild, where something gets pushed up way beyond any actual link to value. And where they don't take into account the fact that not all commodities can be treated the same. So, tulips don't last forever, There's that ugly possum. It's like it was when they learned about the difference between commodities you can buy and hold forever and commodities you can't. Now, see, crypto doesn't have the same vulnerability as tulips does. And crypto does link to actual value to some extent in the sense that attention, if only by computers, was paid to do the work. It has utility in that it's fungible, divisible into infinitely small fractions and can function as a currency, so it does have actual utility. Will crypto retain its current value or increase in value? Well, it's hard to say, I think. Obviously, well, no, I don't think NFTs are the same thing, because you can have some NFTs that are valuable, but NFTs will be valuable in the same way that that actual objects are valuable. The vast majority of them will be worth nothing, and occasionally you'll get one that's famous enough and or has enough significance that it has value. By being NFTs, non-fungible tradables, they forsake the utility aspect of being used as currency in exchange for the utility aspect of being digitally unique, uncounterfeitable instance of something, right? The problem is, even if it is digitally unique, uncounterfeitable instance of something, it's still going to have to be in a medium that people use, right? So, I tend to agree with you, Joshua Jackson, actually, on that point. I think crypto will continue to drop for a while. I wouldn't buy Bitcoin again before it's still above $10,000. I think buy it when it gets down to about 6 or 7 or 8, It'll keep dropping for a while, I bet. Gold's a good buy. For sure. Precious metals are good. But if you want my opinion, I think it's time to buy silver. Silver's been stuck at $20 an ounce. Right now it's like $24 an ounce forever. And I really think that it's undervalued, and silver's a good thing to purchase. I mean, I don't know how much higher gold's going to go. Gold's pretty high right now as it is. Gold's higher than palladium right now. A drop, Joshua Jackson, $500 a drop. That's how much it costs for 1 drop of my oil. I squeeze my pores until I get one drop of oil. It costs you $500, but it smells like pure Eric. I mean, they don't have all the qualities necessary to be a currency. For example, they don't have durability, Yes, potentially they're fungible if you have all the same kind of potatoes. Yes, they're divisible, but I guess they're non-counterfeitable, more or less. The problem is, you need a currency that people can't grow. Yeah, extract of Eric is one of the most highly sought after perfume ingredients. It's the pinnacle that like ambergris is the second tier version of, oil of Eric. Smells so much like Eric. We have a commercial where like this guy sprays some oil of Eric on himself, and as he's walking down the street, all the girls' heads turn. What's that smell? Oh my goodness. And when they do, their hair has so much body and sheen that it flaps all the way around. Because they've been using Pantene. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but Pantene is notorious for giving your hair so much body, the sheen barely even has room to be there. So you gotta mix a little bit of pert in with your Pantene. So you get full body and full sheen for a nice glossy coat. I'm not tense at all. I have 50 kilograms of potatoes. I don't want my potatoes in kilograms. You better just give me some pounds of potatoes instead. Opossum extract. It's good. It smells like dead marsupial. Eric the Oily. Want to see me touch my oily spots? Ooh. Ooh, yeah. No, it's involved. It's to condition it so it's fit for things that require a lot of endurance. Your hair will get tired quickly if you don't condition it. A 100 pounds of potatoes sounds like 99 too many pounds of potatoes. No, it makes your hair more mushy feeling. Okay? Everybody knows that. First you use the shampoo. That makes your hair feel more clean feeling. Then you use the conditioner. That makes your hair feel more mushy. And then when you get tired of trying to wash out the conditioner, which never washes out all the way, you say, fuck it, I guess my hair is going to be a little mushy today. And that's how you know you've conditioned your hair. The only soap I use, though, is bleach. I use it for all of my body and my face, my hair, everything. Like Boba Fett says, it keeps the knots away. I was talking to Rachel the other night about how detergent producers turned their PR disaster into a bunch of bullshit marketing campaigns. So, the laundry detergent used to be bad because it had phosphates in it. So people thought, oh, laundry detergent is bad for the environment. So then they banned all the phosphates, right? And laundry detergent companies started saying, hey, we're good for the environment. It's like, all of you environmentally friendly laundry detergents have the same environmentally friendly quality, which is you no longer have phosphates in them, and there are no detergents that do, so your claims that you're making are ridiculous. It's like these dumb people go to like Whole Foods and get earth-friendly detergent. I mean, detergent's just soap. The only thing that made it bad was back when it had phosphates in it. Loofahs are for poofahs and women. And tough men with big penises. Don't forget about that too. For them too. Tough heterosexual men with big penises love loofahs. I should know. After all, I wash my body with bleach. Keep myself nice and clean. Then I put on a layer of ammonia. I'm a big believer. You're never really clean until you're poison gas clean. know, baby, I know. I'll try not to sit on it. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the year 2023. It's getting off to a bit of a choppy start, perhaps, but I expect it'll settle down. I expect the year will settle down here. Yeah, it's gotten off to a bit of a wild start. You know, I feel just basically fundamentally unsettled, as anybody who is as unsettled as Rachel and I are. Well, we're just in a period of transition. We're moving, we're selling a house, we're buying a house. And it's a really hard process for me. It's not the kind of stuff I'm good at. It's not the kind of stuff I like. And, but I didn't really start feeling, I've been mostly feeling frustration about all the shifting realities, you know, and not being able to settle into my any norm long enough to get trying to get my thoughts back on track. Now that we're at the spot where it actually listed and he's got people coming to look at it tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. And Sundays there's an open house, and it feels both real and a little bit scary, you know. Well, we're not just buying a home. We're moving to a place that we like. And we're moving to a setting that we wanted. And we're moving at a distance from Delilah that we wanted. And it's not just our house, you know, it's Delilah's house too. She's probably never really going to be there, but it's still in the trust. It's a good investment, you know. This property we're getting is almost assuredly going to appreciate. The market's dipping right now in general, so you know, it's probably not the best time to sell this house market-wise, but if we don't do it now, then it could just go even worse. So and it's not like we're going to ever get that house up there for less than we're going to get it. We're never getting it because it's below appraised value, you know. Thanks, Joshua Jackson. It's also the case that I don't want to live by the ocean. I don't like the beach. I like the mountains. I don't like the beach. The beach is sandy, it's hot, it's not the mountains. I don't know who Joshua is. Maybe it's somebody named Joshua Jackson. Could be. It's not such an impossible name. Did anybody hear what happened to that guy? Is he still alive? That football player who got hit, who tackled somebody and got a heart attack? Is he still in critical condition, or has he passed? That was really sad. It's interesting to see it hit Rachel so hard. She's like bursting into tears. So yeah, I'm feeling kind of one half miggity, one half meh, one half piggity, one half pia. Thank you for answering, Congressman. Appreciate it. You know, I'll go back to the hotel here at some point, not too long from now. And then, I guess I'll try to sleep, but it's like, I don't really see myself getting a whole lot of sleep right now. If he's still not breathing off the ventilator, it's not a good sign. It sounds like he's probably in a persistent vegetative state. I just forget mostly. I'm not really exactly shy about it. I don't really like to do it, but mostly I just forget. It doesn't occur to me. I had a milkshake last night and it's hitting my stomach like a fart factory in the middle of fart town. Where most of the residents are employed. Going to work all day, farting up a storm. I wouldn't trust my typing from way back then. You're probably not an INTP. INTPs tend to, their prose kind of sounds a certain way. No, we don't have anything here, Mrs. Mom. I did eat antacids earlier at the hotel. I'll probably go back to the hotel pretty quick, but I'm happy I came over here because both the cats are in here in the back house now with me. Trevor's sitting at my feet, Kapia's sitting behind me on this chair. It's raining, so they were not happy to be outside, you know. Again, ENTP pros and INTP pros look a lot alike. Typically, you're going to see certain kinds of communications being expressed in certain kinds of ways if you got an NTP on your hand. What tea do I like? I like matcha tea. That's pretty good. I like Thai iced tea. That's definitely my favorite. Thai iced tea is the best tea there is. It's also like super expensive, and you get a Thai iced tea, it's like $5, and you drink it super fast. And then you're like, oh, I want another Thai iced tea. I wish I had made it last more. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying about how Thai iced tea, you always finish it before your food even gets there? You like t-shirts, particularly the ones shaped like teas. Right, NTPs are extra weaselly. I don't find them weaselly. They're just, maybe persnickety would be a good word, or, you know. Correct-minded, like wanting to correct people. But you know, I am too. Oh, you're talking about wheeling and doing things. Well, doing things is for losers, Joe. Try to live in a non-doing world where everything's just ideas to be hypothetically spoken about. Let's see what your joke said. Oh, it wasn't a terrible joke. Except t-shirts really are kind of shaped like teas is the problem. But not really. They're what you call really but not reallys. My ugly hat. This is my ugly hat. Okay. This is my pretty hat. I feel a lot of sighs, you know. Thanks, Bufo Perglins. I feel chock full of sighs and sizably chalk. Meow. Who is meowing? It's you. You are. You know why? Because you're a big meowing pants. Meow. Meow. Yes, Daddy loves you. Meow. You got Frederick Douglass Lincoln here. How long have I been interested in MBTI? Well, I mean, I've been talking about personality types since around 2014. So, you know, 8-9 years, something like that. That's when I first really learned about cognitive functions. Prior to that, at some point in my 30s, I heard about MBTI types, but I didn't hear anything about cognitive functions, so there wasn't much to keep me interested in the subject, you know. Nothing necessarily, you have to judge them on a case-by-case basis, but I'm saying that my understanding of cognitive functions is so much more developed now that I don't trust my older videos without rewatching them, and I'm not going to do that. So cognitive functions is greater than two old ladies. Any content machine. Yeah, I make a lot of content. Not a lot of particularly focused content. What are the main difference between perceiving and judging functions? Well, judging functions are ways of deciding or ways of interfacing. Perceiving functions are ways of taking action or ways of knowing. One of them was a dude, wasn't he? Or were they both chicks? Maybe they're both chicks, I don't know. What do you think about socionics? I've looked into it and it seems interesting enough to remember TI. Socionics is a failed attempt to correct MBTI. And the reason it fails is because it doesn't understand how to model something like an open system. So you've gotta have something to function like a prime directive that everything can translate into and make sense as an example of. And you need to have operationalized definitions and meaningful distinctions that people can use to establish things. You've got to find some kind of linkage to empirics that is as ungameable as possible. There's a lot of stuff going on with it, to get it right. I guess that's why it took me such a long time, but socionics, unfortunately, is lost in a morass of endlessly more reductive TI arbitrary distinctions that are just defined for the purposes of this set of definitional games. It's not really doing anything. I mean, there's no OG model to prefer. Jung didn't provide a model, really. He just provided the idea or the concept. I mean, both MBTI and socionics are failed attempts to correctly explain the Jungian concept that Jung himself did not correctly explain. There's no other good way to describe either of those things. Well, I mean, it hasn't been expanded beyond where it should be expanded by me. It's like, I think it was Einstein said, make things as simple as possible and no simpler. So while it's easier to understand, a more simple or reductive kind of explication of it, it's misleading and not correct. Yeah, defensible typology. I keep forgetting that's the name of it. Yeah, I mean, typology is just like any other explanation that involves people, in that it has to understand the scope and scale of what it's trying to explain, its own limits as an explanatory mechanism, and where it's jurisdictionally appropriate, to evaluate things with that metric. Right, but okay, but he was wrong. Einstein was wrong in that there are plenty of concepts that are clear, easy to determinedly affirm, but they nevertheless are too complex for a lot of people to understand. And I'm an excellent teacher. I'm very good at teaching little kids complicated ideas. I was an excellent elementary school debate coach because I got fifth graders to successfully master very advanced concepts. But it's nevertheless the case that, like with cognitive functions, it can give you different levels of explanation, but the one that's for a 6-year-old isn't going to be a very good explanation. I don't know about that, MJC. I have no clear opinion or even speculation about whether it's part of your genetics, whether it has something to do with hormones in the womb, whether it has something to do with very, very early stage of development stuff, like externalities. I don't know. I do know that people's types are determined very, very young, if not at birth. I feel confident in that. Well, I mean, the thing is, Jung didn't use the term INFJ or INFP. Those are MBTI terms. Yeah, so I mean, the fact that you have an identical twin would suggest it's not just genetic, right? And I've known identical twins before with different types, and so it's not just genetic. But it's hard to really nail down. I don't have anything I could tell you about that would just be purely speculation, you know. I'm one of the ones that Delilah came out of the womb in ESTP based on what I remember and know about her. One interesting thing I noted in talking with my ESFP real estate agent in Mariposa, David, was that when I was trying to explain to him why I'm so mad at my realtor for trying to buy our house at under market value, the TI arguments he heard and understood the value of, but he wasn't very convinced by it. What convinced him most of all was what I would call an appeal to SI. I said, well, she told me she knew that we would only get this much for it at the maximum. And she claimed to know that before it had even been listed for one day. That, every time we got back to that point, he'd be like, yeah, that's bullshit. Because he's saying basically, you can't trust intuition for something important, you gotta use experience, and it's kind of revelatory about fourth and fifth slots relations. You know, like I can't trust SI for something important. I need to use NI for important things. SI is just for hassles. You know. In other words, I don't win debate rounds because I remember the most things or have the most things memorized. I win debate rounds because I use my intuition to guide the argumentation, not some remembered, pre-planned thing. It also plays out as like maybe more of a performer than a musician, which I'll talk about more in a second. Like Corey and Liz, they talked some about some of the old open mic performances and stuff, and I'll talk a little bit about what that says about functions in a second. So, being an EDOM means I really do a lot of my best work off the cuff, you know. We used to go to these open mics, and a lot of times I'd kill at them because I was all thwacked out and just performing really more than playing good music. But I was a very compelling performer, you know. The challenge, though, is increasingly people want any NI, you know, people have decreasing amounts of patience for extended pieces of media. There are activities like this where people come in and engage directly with the person that are a little bit of a different activity than media making per se. But Emily Huinya says, how did TE show on the fourth slot? Well, I mean, TE in the fourth slot They're kind of good problem solvers, but they don't like to have to solve other people's problems because they have trouble enough solving their own problems. And but like the difference between TE 4th and TE 6th. I was at my friend's house and he needed this phone charging cable thing, and I was like, fuck, I have to drive back to my house and get it. And my TE 4th friend said, we have one of those here, don't we? So, you know, she probably would have asked, if the roles had been reversed, she probably would have said to me, do you have one of those cords, rather than I have to drive back to my house to get a cord. You know, it's unconscious TE. I'm not really thinking about what the smartest way to do something is, or the most efficient way to do it. MJC says any domes are hilarious to be around. I am often hilarious. I'm not in a very hilarious mood right now. I'm in what I would call a counter-hilarious mood. I'm feeling not sad, not blue, but just tense and worried that I'm a little bit in over my head, you know. Yeah, probably a beautiful pair of wings. See, in the 4th slot means you don't like to do what society tells you to do. You don't like conforming to society, in a sense. This is how I would characterize it. Well, I mean, you don't mind assistance in being told, having things explained to you and how to do them. That's fine. For 4th slot people, they don't mind that assistance. But the thing is, I think you're queuing in on there is probably for INFPs with the SE polar. They don't want to do, they're not doers. SE polar and SE8 people, but especially your INTPs and ENTPs, but INFPs too with the SE polar, it's really hard to get us to do what we say we're going to do. I mean, I've had some just catastrophically bad TE lately. Because when my TE is good, it's only good because there's all the parts that need to stay the same don't change. So I can TE a limited amount of stuff. With a lot of moving parts, like what's going on with me right now, my TE is just terrible. You know, we went and bought all these frozen dinners yesterday, only to discover that the schedule has changed, and now instead of the first showings being this weekend, the first showings are tomorrow. We got to move to a hotel, so you know, it's like you plan for one thing, the situation changes, and you know, it's frustrating. But I got to count my blessings. Obviously, I'm not nothing to complain about. So I just hope this thing, we get an offer, a decent offer, fairly fast. It's fairly clear that, you know, okay, this is about where we're going to go top offer at, and then we just take it pretty quick and get this thing rolling, you know. Oh, my stomach. My estómago, as they say in Mexican. Estómago. Oh, sí, señor. You have a the tennis elbow. I do. In Mexico, we call it el bol del tinizo. I got tennis elbow? How could I possibly have tennis elbow? Maybe, senor, you play too much tennis? I don't tennis. I play no more than 8 to 12 hours a day. The normal amount of tennis. That is not a normal amount of tennis, senor. It is too much of tennis. That's why you have the elbow tennis. So I don't play tennis. The only kind of tennis I play is watching it on TV. I used to play sports, but as I've gotten older, I stopped being very sporty. I did actually used to play tennis when I was a teenager with my friend Chris Morrow. And I played a lot of pickup basketball in my day. It's been a while since I've done any sporting activities, really. I was a good Frisbee football player, or ultimate Frisbee player. I don't want to poke this stick. I don't like being jostled about, really. Leave the jostling for people named Jocelyn. That's what I say. Non-jostlings shouldn't be jostled. Most common type in society? It's hard to say, but probably, you know, your STJs and your SFJs both seem to be pretty common. Both the introverts and the extroverts. But it's really hard for me to say because my typological demographic data is skewed heavily in favor of certain types. There are certain types who want to get typed by me much more than other types end up getting typed by me. People with either NI or TI as an absolute value, especially conscious, are much more likely to get typed by me than people with neither of them as an absolute value, especially unconscious. Most common types in the future? I don't know. I don't know if like typological population trends, I have no idea what they'd be influenced by even, you know. If in fact there's some adaptivity to our reproductive operations that produces types in certain ratios according to need, I don't know what the mechanism could possibly be, you know. So it seems very unlikely that the commonality, the current ratios of type are changing. It's more likely that they're hard set into the species code, you know, that we get about this percentage of ANPs, about this percentage of MEAs, you know. Although it's certainly conceivable that you'd have you could have bunches, you know, you could have those type groups bunched up into subpopulations that would suggest that certain subpopulations have more certain types. It would be really difficult to do any meaningful work in that area, I think. Like when I go back to the hotel, I mean, that's what I'm saying, Carlos Paiva. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody has an answer to that. Anybody who tells you they have the answer to that is bullshitting you. At the moment, it's unanswerable. All we can do is observe that that's how attentional configurations do in fact play out, that people pay attention in reliable and consistent ways that allow you to make predictions about them. like you can always get away with whatever with an ESFJ or ESTJ. You can always get away with whatever mistake if you simply say, this is the first time I've ever done this, I have no experience with it, how was I supposed to know? Because they're antipolar, they don't expect anybody to have any intuition. So that's a perfect excuse. If you want to convince somebody that you're right about something and they're an ESFP, you got to tell them, here's why she failed to do due diligence on experiential things like I did, right? That sold them more than any of my TI arguments ever did. Well, who you are is an individual expression of a specific attentional configuration. So to say that it's your nature, well, that's true. Humans, you think of them as all trees, but some of them are deciduous and some of them are evergreen. Some of them are fruit-bearing and some of them are, say, nut-bearing, right? It may be the case that this particular fruit-bearing tree doesn't bear any fruit, but it's still a peach tree. And that's the issue we have in cognitive functions, is that, some peach trees may not bear the expected kinds or looks or appearance of fruits because something happened to them, that damaged the tree or whatever. But it's still a peach tree. Those things can kind of throw off typological shit. And have you ever tried figs? Yeah. Like jelly donuts? Figs and jelly donuts? I'm not sure. Any other FI dominant people get told by their parents that they never cried as babies? I find this a little weird. Well, I mean, FI dominants have a deep kind of awareness of their own feelings, what they like, what they don't like, what matters to them, what doesn't. And as a consequence, they're not necessarily going to be very expressive about that because they feel entirely responsible for managing that themselves. It's who they are, somebody who manages that. Yeah, type is simple because it's just logic or exclusivities. It's the reality that there are a finite number of hours of the day and finite ways to pay attention. So like when with Rich and I went to go get some Jack in the Box breakfast earlier, I was talking about something and I missed the exit and I had to get off on the next exit and go back. Well, that's because, as always, I was paying attention mostly to ideational stuff and not very much to the sensorial world, and so this kind of shit happens to me all the time. Except it's not just about processing data. Like, this is one of the mistakes that socionics makes. There are epistemology functions. Judging functions metabolize data. Okay, they make decisions about things. Knowledge functions, they don't metabolize data, but data triggers knowledge responses, either intuitive or experiential knowledge responses. Interface functions are ways that human beings attentionally engage dynamically with other dynamic systems, either non-living agential systems or living agential systems. And then your action functions are how you either generate impacts or generate impacts metaphysically with ideas. Those are creative functions or doing functions. So The problem with models or any understanding of functions that attempts to use a word like metabolize or processing data as a core engine for attention is wrong, fundamentally. There's only certain kinds of functions do that. Attention is not just processing data. We act in the world as well. We dance with other people. And in which case there's a roiling dynamic exchange of informations, you know? Yeah, well, you got a lot of things wrong, like Joe. But I haven't. I mean, I did get a lot of things wrong, but now I don't have a lot of things wrong. Now I got it pretty much all right. Hasn't changed much in a while. Of course, Ian was hamstrung by his own type like we all are, right? So he's ignoring. He doesn't get that extroverted intuition is a generative, creative function that's drawing from both S functions in order to make particularist, unique, new stuff, right? Yeah, sure. When I'm making new stuff, I'm involving data. In other words, this sentence here is conveying information to you, is citing some idea that I have somewhere in my head, but it's not something I remember. It's something that I intuitively reconnect all the time as I'm explaining things again. See, the thing is, it's perfectly natural for Jung to interpret externalities as theater triggering events because he's an enidon, right? So he's a receiver. He's meant to receive information and then intuit things about it. That's what he does all the time. He's going to interpret all kinds of data through that frame as data to be received. He's observing the external world as he's moving through because he's got an NI as a dominant function. In contrast, I'm paying very little attention to the external world I'm moving through because I'm extroverting. I'm being the external world, not paying attention to it. I'm creating the external world, not observing it. So, you know, attention is always paid by an individual. It's of an individual. There's no attention that's actually outside of an individual, right? But we can make things in the world. Like I'm making these words right now. We can change things in the world, like by digging a hole in the ground. Those are forms of paying attention as well. And Yeah, so it's like some people gather a lot of data, some people observe a lot of data and intuit about it, some people generate a lot of data, some people parse a lot of data, some people dance with a lot of data, one way or another. Well, I'm not talking about brain architecture. I'm specifically talking about attentional manners. The way that people have a finite number of hours in the day to pay attention and a finite number of ways in which people can pay attention. That certain attentional manners require other complementary attentional manners. I cannot interface without knowing because it's a dynamic, responsive, on-the-fly kind of action that it's not possible to do it with deciding ahead of time. It's not consistent with deliberative epistemology, whereas action functions are consistent with deliberative epistemologies because you plan a course of action and you execute it, Well, I mean, this is a problem with the term traits. People don't possess traits. People habitually pay attention in the same way. We can then, because somebody who is persistently paying attention in TESI ways, for example, is going to score high on conscientiousness as a trait, quote unquote, but that's mistaking the well, what's a good analogy here? It's like saying fire engines are those things that make you put your fingers in your ears when they drive by. It is true that you might do that when fire engines drive by, but it's not the fire engine driving by that makes you do that, it's the sound. So if you were to say, oh, I can tell this person's a meow type because he's very sensitive to sound, you may actually be looking at somebody who's just copying everybody else and doing this, right? In fact, they're not sensitive to sound at all. Maybe they can't even hear sirens. And they think that they're hearing them because they're doing the same action that everybody else is doing. This happens a lot in trying to understand personality type. People do not possess discrete traits that are measurable in the way that the Big Five says. That's just a metaphor at best, and really what it is it's a misleading depiction of human beings as all deviating from a single, like, ultimately average human in various ways. When in reality, each of us is part of one configuration. We might deviate from others who have that same configuration in minor ways, but we'll all deviate in the same way from people with this other configuration. And yet a third configuration might align with, say, conscientiousness, but not align with something else over here. So if we try to treat them as traits, we're just leading ourselves down a path of progressively more confusing wrongness. Yeah. It's like an IQ test attempts, again, to explain things that are best explained intentionally through some other mechanism that's not correct. I say it's a trait rather than habits of how to pay attention. That's a good quote from Robert Sapolsky. At least it explains things in terms of the trade-offs. And That's what attentional matters really are all about. They're about trade-offs. Because I'm doing this and talking about this stuff, I'm not paying those two toll payments that I have to pay for when I went to Portland. I guess I accidentally went on a couple of toll roads I didn't know I got on, for some violated some tolls, and I forgot to pay like $22 or something. Instead of doing that, being conscientious, which is what I would do if I were SITE, remembering the things I need to do, the goals I'm trying to attain, the tasks I need to handle, and shit like that, then I would be doing that instead of this, you know? But as we see from 12 years of Eric doing Talking with Famous People, what Eric likes to do is get on the internet and talk. And when he's not on the internet, he still likes to talk. Rachel has to listen to a lot of Eric talking too, you know? Although not as much as she once did. Regardless, probably I have to agree with that definition is absolutely useless. You need a definition you can do something with. Well, I mean, it's like saying, well, I mean, the problem is that people do have physical traits, right? That are qualities or characteristics belong to a person. I have these bags under my eyes. It's a physical trait, you know. A long nose, it's a physical trait. These things don't change barring major injuries or something. And personalities don't work like that. When we try to describe them as traits, we are using a metaphor. We're pretending as though they're the same sort of thing as physical traits, namely more or less static aspects of an observable self. But attentional matters are never static, they're always dynamic. So, I mean, they may deal with static or dynamic systems, but the process of paying attention is always a process, it's never a snapshot. So when we try to insist that it obey the rules of snapshots, then we start making mistakes about how to understand it. And that's where we run into a lot of trouble, in fact, in psychology, philosophy, and all sorts of things, is we forget that different kinds of objects and different kinds of systems are only correctly understood through certain kinds of language and metrics. We might say that's a very heavy fog, but that doesn't mean that we're going to tear our biceps trying to lift it, because we mean something different then, right? So when you want to talk about a trait or quality or characteristic that's inherent in someone or something, well, when we're talking about physical traits, we're talking about things that can in fact have that kind of inherency as an object, as a static object. When we're talking about attentional processes, they can't have that kind of identity as a static object, so it's just a category error. Uh-oh. Skunky Brewster's having a battle with the orange cat out there. Now, can certain phenotypes be more likely to gravitate mimic traits over others or not? Well, I think kind of the question's backwards. I think that it is the case that certain types display some phenotypic consistencies among themselves. They're not very reliable. You can't you can't determine somebody's type just by their appearance, but it is the case that a lot of ENTPs are kind of tall and thin like me, and you know, a lot of INFJs have those INFJ eyes, and ENFJs are kind of like thicker INFJs who have less problems caused by their SI because it's polar rather than 8 slot. 8 slot's a troublesome spot for people, you know. I have a lot of trouble with SE. Seems like every time I say I'm going to do something, I don't do it. Every time I say I'm not, I'm good at saying I'm not going to do something, I won't do it. But saying I'm going to do something is not a good way to determine if Eric's going to do something. That's great. Well, okay. So I guess what I'll do right now is go pull a bowl in the car, and while I am gone, I'll put on a little music, and also you guys can chat quietly among yourselves. Please no horsing around. You guys know how much I hate it when you horse around. Horsing around is for horses, okay? Not for people. So just stop horsing around.
The battle's never waging and the battle's never won. If you stop yowling, then the fighting's all done. And the fight's been raging, though the war's no fun. If you're not engaging, then the fight's unwon. The battle's ever waging and the battle's never won. If you stop yowling, then the fighting's all done. And the fight's been raging, though the war's no fun. If you're not engaging, then the fight's unwon. Makes thought and the youth inside. When Piao is plotting a spiteful ride. When work produces nothing that's real. And playtime seems just like the peel of a life that has no fruit inside. Every impulse run and tide. Run and tide. The battle's ever waging and the battle's never won. If you stop yowling, then the fighting's all done. Fight's been raging, though the war's no fun. If you're not engaging, then the fight's unwon. The battle's ever waging and the battle's never won. If you stop yowling, then the fighting's all done. And the fight's been raging, though the war's no fun. If you're not engaging, then the fight's unwon. The battle's ever waging and the battle's never won. Battle's never done. Fighting's all done and the fight's been raging, though the war's no fun. If you're not engaging, then the fight's unwon. The battle's ever waging and the battle's never won. If you stop yowling, the fighting's all done. And the fight's been raging, though, boys. If you're not engaging, then the fight's unwon. The battle's ever waging and the battle's never won. Stop yowling, then the fighting's all done. Fight's been raging, though the war's no fun. You're not engaging, then the fight's unwon. To the Undertown, Angeline in tow, for a secret unattended show. Under blazing blue and tropical skies, Angeline is stuck with you. She can't stand other guys. Stay running till the chase is done. Hide your loot and your tracks. You may have been born a son of a gun, but if you lie low, you might one day make it back. If she needs him, he will be there. Seems he's always nearby. He's always around. Angeline has his or another means to get by. Get above ground. To the Undertown, Angeline in tow, tropical skies. Angeline is stuck with you. She can't stand other guys. Stay running till the chase is done. Hide your loot and your tracks. You may have been born a son of a gun, but if you lie low, you might one day make it back. If she needs him, he will be there. Seems he's always nearby. He's always around. Angeline has his or another means to get by. Get above ground. Stay running till the chase is done. Hide your loot and your tracks. You may have been born a son of a gun, but if you lie low, you might one day make it back.
I got my hose, I got my bins, I got my gaps, and then again, I got my drugs and my gang and my strippers, all the same. I've got everything that I need. I'm rolling down the highway, moving at top speed, looking out for a reason to see a G. I got my hose, I got my gap, a super awesome conference. I got my clubs, I got my strippers, I got all kinds of fun stuff. Rolling in the Benz, down the highway super fast, going to another super awesome conference for Florida's natural grapefruit juice. Florida's natural grapefruit juice. Florida's natural grapefruit juice. Florida's natural grapefruit juice. Get your hose, got your gats, got your guns, got your band. Don't forget your grapefruit juice, my friends.
Seems like years that I've been pressing forward in this barrier area, which precludes me from progressing past this point. Every time I step on that, I learn just as little I know about what. Every time I step on that, I learn just as little I know about what. Seems like years that I've been pressing forward in this barrier area, which precludes me from progressing past this point. Wherefore art thou, Borneo? And wherefore were you Guam? What for did you get thorny, though? Did you have another fight with Mom? When so forth cometh that, and whosoever is that on its back. Every time I step on that, I learn just as little I know about what paranormal stuff. Every time I step on that, I learn just as little I know about what paranormal stuff. Every time I step on that, I learn just as little I know about paranormal stuff. He's Gregory in disguise. He hates the lies, wants to confront the men, always telling them. But every time he tries, they only run and hide. Again he is denied, chance to yell at them. So now he's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. He doesn't want want you guys to realize that he's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize that bridge brings a new approach. Sneakily, he'll try to encroach up on the guilty. Then he'll finally get his chance to yell at them. He's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize he's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize that he's Gregory in disguise. He hates the lies, wants to confront the men, always telling them, but every time he tries, they only run and hide. Again he is denied chance to yell at them. He's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize he's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize he's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize he's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive. He's Gregory. Yelling and kicking, stabbing everyone, killing and robbing, donating blood, running over everything that goes in the road. 'Cause they don't like it. I'm going to go to camp and take you to the place where I stab everybody that I see. These are my activities for my summer camp and week. Won't it be a lot of fun? Stabbing, 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 stabbing.
Well, well, well. Look who's back. And better than ever. The answer for you, Boba Fett, is SE is best described as either actualization or concretization. Making ideas into realities, impacts. Who was that girl who was duty on Amelia? I don't think I had any girl on Amelia, but I think you're talking about, what's her name? That girl who worked with me on, what's the matter with, that song. What's her name? I forget what her name is. She has a great voice, yeah. She sounds so, her voice is so pure and innocent. She's a great singer. Alright, well, I'm going to wrap it up now. Get back to the hotel here pretty quick and probably try to get a little bit of sleep. No, thanks, Boba Fett. I appreciate that. I genuinely do. Have a good day, everybody. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.